Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, dear viewers. This is the Harar 5 English program about the dire situation in Ethiopia. In today's program, we will inform you about the extreme farm invasion and unprecedented levels of violence against Harari farmers. Ethiopia, a country of about 120 million people, is going through a difficult time. Anarchy, lawlessness, illegal confiscation of private property, and gross human rights violations are widespread throughout the country. This is more so true in and around the Harari regional state, where Hararis lived for centuries. The law enforcement agency of the region is unable or unwilling to address the issues, allowing the criminal elements to thrive and operate with impunity. Repeated attempts to inform the local officials about this dire situation have fallen to deaf ears, and they are left with no other option but to raise their voices to anyone who is willing to listen to their grievances, hoping that fairness will ultimately prevail, despite the dark clouds hovering above the regional state. A documentary video recording of the victims of this crime was put forward by Harlatube to raise awareness on this matter, hoping that fair-minded, decent people of the world or organizations will take the initiative to learn more about what is unfolding and do what is necessary for justice to be served and the rule of law to be upheld. The plight of Hararis who lost their farmland to criminal elements. This transcript is extracted from a video interview organized by Harlatube with Hararis who were driven off their farmland by criminals who have no regard to the rule of law. A woman on the video, whose farmland was confiscated by a local man, expressed her frustrations toward the government for failing to protect her right to own property. Her livelihood depends on this farmland to provide for her family. She used to collect crops such as mangoes, bananas, cat, sorghum, and more from her farm and sell that in the city market for cash to buy all her necessities. Now she's left with no means to survive after losing her farmland to someone who is threatening to kill her if she steps onto her own farmland. She's demanding the rule of law to be respected and the government officials to intervene and protect her rightly owned property. She stated that she has the deeds for the farmland and pays taxes. The woman expressed that her precarious situation intensified by the skyrocketing inflation and questions how she's going to survive and provide for her family. She's pleading with the government to intervene and uphold the rule of law and protect every citizen from gross human rights violations. Another woman on the video who was chased away from her 3 farmlands, namely Arida Farm, Tilbona Farm, and Naziro Farm, expressed her disappointment and asked for the government to protect the landowners. Again, these victims of illegal confiscation of their farmland are mostly women who cannot fight back or stand to the criminals who often wield a machete and threaten to cut them into pieces. Harar is portrayed as a city of tolerance and understanding where various ethnic groups live in harmony. However, the indigenous society of the land has been treated unjustly with the intent of driving them away. A third woman expressed her dismay to the overall situation and criticized the government for not doing enough in all sectors, thereby putting the entire population at risk of being dysfunctional. She is old enough to remember the last 3 regimes and stated the current regime as being the by far most corrupt, which failed to protect the citizens from criminals roaming around the city, terrorizing and targeting specific ethnic groups, namely the Hararis. She also pleaded for a concerted effort by everyone, including the diaspora, to bring about an end to the misery which they are facing. Another sad story was revealed by a woman who was physically attacked and lost the ability to walk. She entered into an agreement with a local man to work on her farmland and to share the produce. He violated the agreement and warned her that he would cut off her head if she got near the farmland. She took the case to court and won, but the authorities were unable or unwilling to enforce the verdict. She was ultimately attacked and Another sad story was revealed by a woman who was physically attacked and lost the ability to walk. She entered into an agreement with a local man to work on her farmland and to share the produce. He violated the agreement and warned her that he would cut off her head if she got near the farmland. She took the case to court and won, but the authorities were unable or unwilling to enforce the verdict. She was ultimately attacked by the man and lost her ability to move around without support. The political climate is in favor of one ethnic group, allowing such unprecedented crime to be perpetrated against another group, forcing them to consider leaving the region altogether. These poor women who appeared on the video are desperate to find a situation for these crimes and demand law and order to be restored so people can live a dignified life on their ancestral land. The video features yet again a moving plea by a man whose farmland was confiscated in a similar fashion. The man claims that he had an agreement with the father of the perpetrator of this crime to work on the farmland and to share the produce between the two parties. The father of the perpetrator passed away, and his son refused to honor the agreement. When he visited the farmland to discuss the issue, the man unleashed his dog and chased him away. He claims that he inherited the farmland from his late father, although he was presented with a document that clearly states the agreement between the owner of the farmland and his father. The man states that the government authorities are afraid of these criminals and allow anarchy and lawlessness to be the norm in the region, and pleads for outside intervention to restore order. The footage of the video continues with more poor and disenfranchised women crying for justice. A lady who lost her 3 farmlands in this scheme took her case to court and won. However, no government officials were willing to help her to reclaim her farmland. She attempted to go and reclaim her property on her own, but was met with violence and left fearing for her life. Final note. The purpose of the video is to raise awareness with what is taking place in Ethiopia, specifically in Harar, where the indigenous society of the land are treated as a second-class citizen, thereby subjecting them to unprecedented levels of abuse. The local government failed to take action and chose to look the other way because it is considered politically unpopular and suicidal to go after the criminals. If this trend is to continue, it will only be a matter of time before the whole nation disintegrates into all-out conflict, spelling misery for millions of its citizens. It is imperative for all peace-loving Ethiopians, as well as the international community, to pay attention to what is taking place in that troubled nation and act to avoid a catastrophe.